Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Pisces for January 2019. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see more about booking a live reading with me, where I can give you insights into your personal chart in the upcoming year. Also, if you would love to learn astrology and you resonate with how I teach, my astrology apprenticeship program is enrolling. Depending on when you're watching this, it may be enrolling right now, so definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com and get a slot in that program. It is very awesome, very comprehensive, as you can imagine from the details I put in the horoscopes. You can imagine there's so many more details in that course. So check it out at anniehelpsyou.com. Okay, so what's going on in this new month, this new year? We have a true clean slate on all levels. It's not always that we start out a new year where it feels like a new year, because sometimes astrological transits are occurring at the beginning of a new year that make it feel more sleepy or slow moving, but not this year. This year we have two eclipses greeting us in January. We have not only finally the end of all the personal planet retrogrades and their post-shadow periods, but also all of the planets in the cosmos will be going direct early in January, and that will extend through February 18th. So we have a huge open window for momentum, forward movement, and definitely new chapters on every level. The eclipses will be bringing dramatic, drastic changes. I have gone into some of those possible changes in my December report for Pisces, and I'm going to talk about the other eclipse in this report, as well as some other things on my mind for Pisces. Besides having all of this new energy, we've got 3 supermoons in the first several months of the year, all at the first degree of their sign, which is another indicator of brand new chapters. So we've just got lots of new stuff going on. So the format that I've been using, where I show you the charts to show you the difference between early, middle, and late degree placement readings, everybody's been giving me great feedback from that. So I'm going to jump now into the charts so that I can go into detail about the things that are potentials for Pisces for this month and beyond. So in order to determine if you're early, middle, or late degree placement, and these are roundabout estimates, the February born Pisces will be early, okay? And then also if your placement is between 0 and 9 degrees, that's early. So middle degree will be around March 1st through 10th. And 10 through 19 degrees if you're watching for, if you know your sun degree, or if you're watching for your moon or rising. And then the late degree placements will be around March 11th through the rest of the sign, or see 20 through 29 degrees if you know your sun degree, or if you're watching for your moon or rising. Now, if you just missed that and you're not sure if you're early, middle, or late, do me a favor and rewind it to figure it out, because we get inundated, my assistant and I get inundated with posts, and we try to respond to everybody personally, but it will make our job very much easier if you can just go back and answer the questions as to whether you're early, middle, or late from that guide I just gave you. Okay. So we've been talking about the eclipses, and in the December report, I talked about where and showed you where Pisces can expect to see that first solar eclipse, January 5th at 15 degrees of Capricorn. So definitely go back and watch that report if you haven't already, because that's going to be part of your January picture, but I just needed more time to cover it, and you would possibly start seeing manifestations in December, so we discussed it then. So now we're talking about the eclipse on January 21st, or so. Of course, if your time zone is drastically, in one way or the other, it could be in the days around there. But around the 21st, it's at almost 1 degree of Leo, so very late 0 degree of Leo. This is ending an eclipse cycle that began at the beginning of 2017. So it goes from 2017 through 2019. So there have been themes at play for this time along the lines of Leo and Aquarius stories, also relating to the houses that have been highlighted, which we'll talk about. So this is a closing of a chapter of a couple of year story. But then also think back to between 2008 and 2009, because that is when this eclipse cycle happened last. So you may have noticed some similar themes that you were experiencing in the last eclipse cycle that came up again for another level of experience, or building on what already happened, or continuations of those stories. So there's an association between those years. Okay, so this is a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses tend to bring endings, major milestones, completions, and for all signs and all Pisces placements, there's strong energy around things involving children. Okay, so for all signs, it's true because the sign of Leo. But for most of the Pisces energies, there's this potential for extra Leo effects because it will also be occurring in or near the 5th house. And really, all early, middle, and late degree placements have the chance to experience this lunar eclipse, not only in the sign of Leo, but also in the 5th house, which rules Leo. So this is extra energy. Other things that we, all Pisces placements can see endings, completions, fruitions, things coming to, a climax and end, is besides just things like milestones with children or an issue with children or something they're working on, your relationship with children or trying to have a child, something like that, can also have to do with creative projects, because for many people, even those with children, sometimes the creative projects are your babies, my little baby pictures there. So it has, this 5th house has to do with baby energy. So baby projects, things that you're taking care of, things that you're a steward for. This also can bring up, for all early, middle, and late degree placements, something having to do with a culmination in true love or a romantic relationship or how you relate in relationships. And for all placements, this is going to very much have to do with boundary setting and the energy of people pleasing. Okay, so really going through a cycle, and there are a lot of different things that are going on in the early, middle, and late degree placement charts, like here in the 1st house, that are really redefining yourself, your boundaries, your borders, what feels safe for you, what feels healthy for you, what makes you happy. And your empathic nature is so strong, you're spongy, you take on everything from everybody. So setting some healthy boundaries, as hard as that can be, has been part of this eclipse cycle over the last couple of years. And it's very important, whether it's with your children or whether it's with love or romance or whether it's with, your hobbies or something like that, that this, is really been focused on. This can also have to do with addictions, because sometimes the 5th house has to do with, and again, this is for all early, middle, and late degree. This can have to do with overindulgence in something that you really like to the point that it's an addiction. So issues with addiction and overindulging could definitely have been part of this storyline and could come to a dramatic ending at this time. So let's look at the houses more closely here as we break up the early, middle, and late. Okay, so we've got one eclipse cycle ending, another one beginning this month. And so for the early degree placements, the polarities of Aquarius and Leo fall into the 6th and 12th houses. Okay, so just hold on to that for a second. Let's just compare. So for the last 2 years, besides this Leo-Aquarius polarity thing that we've been talking about for you, early and middle have been having a storyline of 6th and 12th houses as well. Okay, we're going to talk about what that means, but first I just want to show you the difference here. Okay, so you can see here, like, Leo is in this 5th house and 11th house. Oopsie. But then it's also in the 6th and 12th house. Okay, so Leo energy for middle degree placements is both in the 5th and 6th house, and the Aquarius energy for the middle degree placements is in the 11th and 12th house. Okay, so these two houses have been accentuated. Then for the late degree placements, this eclipse cycle has been very much focused on the 5th and 11th house, with some slight stories in the 6th and 12th. Okay, so it shifts. Turns out that the 5th and 11th houses also were the Leo Aquarius houses. So like I said, it's just kind of like double. But for you early and some middle degree placements, it increases the odds that this storyline having to do with 6th and 12th is really current, has been current. So 6th and 12th have to do with form versus formlessness. Okay, so it's like, kind of like nebulous, and this is like tangible. It can have to do with logic versus intuition. And it can have to do with order versus chaos. So you may notice these themes over the last couple of years of trying to balance these two opposites. Here's art and poetry. Here's structure and, foundation, organization. Trying to balance the seen and unseen and all of these things has been a major theme. So that's part of, a major storyline and accomplishment, a graduation is part of what this month really represents. So the eclipse is at the end of the month, which means that often eclipse news can carry over, well into February, even into early March. So if you haven't gotten any eclipse news or nothing notable has happened, it still could. Sometimes people will ask, are eclipses good or bad, and they get nervous and they associate it with bad things because people get really nervous about change. And eclipses do bring change. So we start to associate it with change sometimes that we're not feel ready for yet. But in general, it's just a change, like a shifting of energies. The principle that energy is not created nor destroyed, it just changes form, is very evident at eclipse time. So something very clearly will, end here and then make room, and then something else will, just slip in. It's like a lot of surprises, but also things specifically worked for. Okay, so those are the things I wanted to talk about as far as the eclipses. Now I want to talk about my favorite days of the month for launches and important things. I want to talk about days to watch out for and why when we talk about the general transits. Okay, so I'm going to shift into a video of the chart for the general transits, and we can look at the yummies and the boos that are coming up for the general transits that will affect everyone this month. Okay, so now let's talk about the general transits. There are lots of important dates to note, and I'm going to go into the specifics of those now. The theme of the month for all signs is radical new chapters and wide open stars. As I mentioned before, this is truly the energy of a new year. It can be a very clean slate. We've had a year of retrogrades, pretty much focusing on the personal planets retrograde, and this is like a really huge clean slate time. So lots of old patterns, lots of old programming, lots of old ways of being, brilliant new chapters opening. There are so many reasons why there's so much newness. So not only are we free finally from the personal planet retrogrades and their post-shadow periods, as of January 6th, we also have all of the planets, including the outer planets, going direct. So this is a very rare occurrence, and these wide open stars will last until February 18th. So it is important to note, however, that even though we have all this energy from momentum and moving forward, we do actually have quite a few astrological clashes this month. So as far as trying to do important things or move forward, there are definitely going to be clashes and impediments, but Still, the general energy is just very open, and many things that we've been working on can really manifest at this time in a really huge way. So we talked at length about the eclipses. Besides the fact that the eclipses are happening, bringing in new chapters, ending old chapters, and then also besides the fact that the planets, will be all going direct, also the first 3 full moons of 2019 are all supermoons, and they occur at the first degree of their respective sign, which brings even more energy of a clean slate and the instigation of many new experiences and ways of being, opportunities, trajectory changes, and other new beginnings that we have really sought after, or some that arise as a surprise. I often get the question, what is a supermoon? So the supermoon is when the moon is at its closest possible point to, or very, notably close. You ever notice those moons where you're like, gosh, the moon looks really big. Like, whoa. Like that. Then that often is because the moon is actually closer to us. That's why it looks bigger. So when this coincides with the full moon, then it's called a supermoon. Okay, so supermoons definitely carry some similar energy to the eclipses in the way that there's more power behind the full moon. So more things coming to fruition and then opening up. Basically things coming to a major climax and new things beginning. So powerful endings, powerful beginnings are definitely a theme that we're having from the eclipses and the supermoons. So I'm going to go into details about transits that I want you to be very aware of. And do note that if you want a written version of the general transit report a month early delivered to your inbox, then go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter, and you'll get this information in writing and more. So I list all the transits that are most noteworthy, along with some information about what you can expect. So I won't go through all of them in this video, but if you sign up for my free email newsletter, then you'll be able to see access to them. And a lot of people really like that for planning because you can see when the dicey transits are, like right there written in front of you, not just hearing it on the audio. Also, if you are planning travel, check out my monthly travel astrology reports on my site, astrologykisstravelbliss.com. And if you like written horoscopes from me, then go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. Okay, so those all will give you tons more information about the transits, how you can best use the energies. So, like I mentioned before, there are quite a few clashes this month, and there's some energy that I would call very sobering. And this is typical of this time of year when aspects get together in the sign of Capricorn. It's kind of very, it's very realist. It's like kind of sometimes time to pay the piper, after the Sag transits of just kind of freedom loving. Now this is the time to get organized, get your taxes together, figure out the financial aftermath from the holidays, So it can come with some sobering or even challenging news, reality checks, but this energy is also fantastic for trying to drill long-term things in to your reality. So like on the 1st and the 2nd, we've got the Sun getting together with Saturn. In this Capricorn energy is the kind of, I don't want to make it mad, but we'll call it concerned energy, where you're like, okay, we really have to get down to business here. So that energy will last a few days, and then there's a square with Mercury. So on the 3rd, and then also again, we have, on the 8th, and then again on the 23rd. So January 3rd, January 8th, and January 23rd, we have squares with Mercury. So expect on those days possible impediments to movement, some, minor speed bumps, challenges with communication. Could feel like a mini Mercury retrograde. So whenever Mercury gets together in the form of a square, it can cause those challenges. So it's going to, Mercury still in Sag is going to come and square, Chiron. then it's going to come and square Mars, then it's going to come and square Uranus over the month. Okay, so particularly that one on the 8th and then the one on the 23rd. So 1, 8, 123. Be extra careful with your physical body and with driving. And, you know, these are the kind of transits that I say, like, really look out as you're texting. I'm hoping that everyone would just stop texting while they're driving or riding a bike or walking in busy areas. But since I know that's not going to happen, I at least can give you the warning that in the days around those days, there are more chances for accidents, verbal communication accidents, and also physical body and vehicle, and with your devices, like dropping in the toilet, things that would impede your communication through something happening to the device. So just be really careful around those days, extra so. And always remember that I give you the dates of the transits, but the days that we can experience the transits are often before or after the actual transit, because all of the transits have these orbs of energy. So like, you know, if something happens on this day, sometimes we feel that over here or on the day or some point after, because the range of influence of a transit has an orb, and the orb is dependent upon the planets involved. So, you know, from a day to 4 or 5 days if we're talking about things with the personal planets, before or after. Okay. That's why I say don't hang your hat too heavily on an exact date. You have to more like tune into the feeling. If there's going to be a sweet aspect, and there are going to be quite a few, which I'm going to have you note here, then if you're feeling the vibes in the days before, you don't have to wait till the exact day of the aspect. If you want to lock something in or do something important, then definitely follow your personal flow, how you're personally experiencing the transits. Okay, one more challenging date of note, and there are actually more that I'm listing, but again, you can go to anniehelpsyou.com and see more about those details. But on January 13th, we have the first of 3 passes of Jupiter in Sagittarius squaring Neptune in Pisces. Okay, so let's look at that here. So Jupiter is here. Neptune is here. Now, also a reminder, I know I've talked about this before, but I want to remind you, when we're talking about general transits, these are for everybody. I tack the general transits at the end of the individual reports. So the general transit that you hear for each sign will actually be the same for all signs. I do that for your convenience, so you just listen to it right after your sign-specific report. When we're talking about the general transits, these houses that these aspects are occurring in don't matter. Okay, we're just looking at the relationship between the planets and not the houses. To understand the houses, you know, that's going to be different for each sign. So just kind of ignore, that's why I've scribbled this out over there. All right, so anytime outer planets get together, they're generally talking about a long-term theme. Okay, so this on January 13th is the first of 3 passes, with the second being on June 16th. And then the third and last being on September 21st. And these are all in 2019. Okay, so it's very well indicated to avoid being overly optimistic at this time, and definitely to avoid risk-taking behaviors that may have worked in the past. This is a time when the expansive nature of Jupiter, you know, it just wants to go big, is kind of put into a challenging angle by, you know, this energy of disillusionment or confusion or uncertainty or chaos. And I always see these kind of aspects as nice checks and balances that we have from the universe, because we've been on this big expansion spree since Jupiter has gotten into Sagittarius. And we will continue this for most of 2019, where the energy, you know, is in an expansion mode. Even when Jupiter is in retrograde, which isn't yet, but you know, even during that time, there's this story of expansion is really strong, because Jupiter is in the sign that it rules, you know, which is it's very excessive in that place. So, you know, in the weeks around the 13th, June 16th, June 21st, like these hot spots will last weeks at a time. Just be really careful. Like, it's not always the best time to take risks unless you're intuitively inclined, for sure. The odds are more in favor of disappointment now than triumph. You know, like I said, I see a positive way to look at this transit as it helps to show the limits of the expansion that is occurring, you know, because we can't just keep expanding indefinitely in all areas without having a rest or having a check-in or checking sustainability for the things we've, you know, expanded into. It's very helpful for us to have this like, okay, let's take a step back and evaluate and prepare for future expansion by seeing, you know, if we can manage what we've already done. So we need to have form and structure. I mean, we need to have structure to be in form. And so the energy, you know, being very upward moving, this is a time when we're kind of like settling into the new norm and taking a break from the frenetic pace of increase. And actually doing that purposely can be a sweet way to avoid lessons from this. Okay, so now let's talk about the juicy stuff. All right, let's get this out of here. I want to talk about my favorite aspects of the month. There are quite a few nice aspects this month, but most of them are coupled with challenging aspects on the same days. So there's kind of like this sweet and salty going on a lot of the month. But towards the end, put a gold star around the 22nd. Okay, on January 22nd, Venus, where are you, buddy? All right, so Venus is going to come and get together with Jupiter. So put like a big star on the days around this. Now, there are some other aspects around those dates that could be manifesting that could have more challenge. But in general, Venus ruling love and beauty and money and self-esteem is going to get together with the great expander. So anytime we have a personal planet, especially Venus or Mercury or the Sun, getting together with Jupiter, it usually means like really good news involving money or love, sweet spot, you know, something gelling, money coming in, you know, just something really, really excellent. So I just love, love, love that day. Now, if you have to do something business-wise, like launching something, oh my gosh, I really love this time. And if it happens to be in anything having to do with Sagittarius efforts, even better. So like teaching, learning, speaking, publishing, writing, spiritual pursuits, church-related things, travel, long distance, you know, different countries, different cultures, different languages. There's even more support around those kind of things coming in, news and other things. But you can definitely use it purposely to lock in some good energy. One of those squares I warned you about with Mercury is on the 23rd. So Mercury squaring Uranus. So just, you know, that's going to be happening at the same time. So if things are weird that exact day, don't, you know, just follow your intuition. But I definitely love the energies of this Venus aspect. Now, the two last sweet aspects that are my favorite this month, they're even better in some ways because they're not clouded by another challenging aspect that's kind of stealing some of their thunder. Okay, so let's get that out of there. So on the 25th, we're going to have Mars in Aries trining Jupiter in Sag. Gosh, this little pen is hard to write with. Okay, so Mars, there he is, and Jupiter are going to come together and be in our favorite trine configuration. Okay, and when that happens, that's the sweetest of all astrological aspects. So this is one of my favorite aspects of the month and even the year. Because trines with Jupiter are just awesome. So it's a great day for important things. If your intuition is in agreement and the synchronicities seem to line up, I love this for like launch dates, moving forward, making decisions, you know, and it should be relatively clear from that other aspect that happened on the 23rd, or at least it's diluting. All right, so that's put a sweet spot, sweet gold star there. And then the last aspect is on the last day of the month that I love, love, love. You can see that the end of the month is kind of more clear in some ways from the general mischief of the month. Also, the eclipses will have happened, so some more clarity might be coming in about those directions. So on January 31st, we have a beautiful Saturn in Cap sextile Neptune in Pisces. Okay, where's our buddies there? Saturn and Neptune. Okay, so sextile is a 60-degree angle, beautiful aspect. And again, like our other aspect that we were talking about with Jupiter squaring Neptune, that's an outer planet challenging aspect. We talked about the implications of that. But this similarly will have 3 passes. Okay, so January 31st is the first pass. The second one is June 18th of 2019. And then the third is November 8th. All right, so on these days, this energy of material gains coming from spiritual focus and pursuits is very strongly brought into the picture. And again, it's like the weeks around this time. So it can also manifest as any beautiful blending of the lesser seen plus the more tangible realms. So this is like a nice bridge time when people who are doing work on the inner planes, doing work with the law of attraction, doing work with, on the levels that are hard to see. Like you could be working really hard and what we call normal people around you, right, who don't understand what you're doing, might say, everything looks the same in your life. And you say, oh, well, I'm really working. Things are really shifting on the inside. These transits are times when things that you've done on the inner realm can really manifest in a big way. They're like really good affirmations and confirmations that you're on the right track and that inner work really does work. So I love ending off the month with that kind of awesomeness. And also if you have to plan something important, that is a super sweet aspect to lock in. When you're doing something important, the day you do it on is like a birthday in many cases, depending on what it is. And then that chart, whatever's going on that day, gets locked into the story of what you're doing. That's why doing things, on good dates can be very helpful to the long-term outcomes of what you're trying to do, because you lock in good energy and then that carries, that goes with it for the whole venture. So if you'd like to have a written version of this every month, a month early, go to anniehelpsyou.com. If you are already on my email newsletter list and you're not receiving my emails, I send them out religiously. So definitely check your spam, social, events folders. And if you find them there, move them into your inbox to give your email the alert like, hey, I want these in my general inbox, because I'm definitely sending them. So if you're not getting them, then contact my customer service team and definitely first look in those other inboxes. So I hope you love the added effects of the visuals, and definitely go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, where you can see more about booking a private reading with me. I can tell you more about what's coming in the next year from the astrological perspective and all kinds of other things. Also, if you resonate with how I teach and you would love to learn with me, my astrology apprenticeship program is registering now. So definitely check out my website for details about my astrology apprenticeship program. Also, in the beginning of January, my coach certification and online business course will be registering. I have horoscopes and lifestyle blogs, including astrology for wellness blogs at cozybysweetstarlight.com. And if you're a traveler, check out my astrology travel reports on my website, astrologykissedtravelbliss.com. If you're interested in tarot, you can check out my husband's site. Plus, he also has other information about astrology and some pretty cool offerings. You can check out his website, B.R. Newman, at iamhelios.com, iamhelios.com. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.